Hey guys, so Minecraft 1.9 is finally out after all kinds of testing and snapshots, just over a long period of time. It's finally out, and I'll be honest, I haven't really been following these snapshots all that much, but now the update is actually out, and I'm really excited to try it and show it to everybody here. So what this update really is, and a lot of you probably already know this, but what this update is the combat update that's supposed to redefine combat and PvP in Minecraft. So as you already probably know this as well, PvP in Minecraft right now is about as boring as it gets. It's about who can click faster and, who can get the first click in. That's all it really is. And we all can click about the same speed. There's some people who can click a little bit faster. Big deal. It's, Minecraft PvP really isn't all that great. But with this update, that's, it's supposed to redefine it and really make, PvP, more interesting. So I'm going to be focusing this video mostly on that combat, stuff, to showing how it works and whatnot. And then I'll also go over some of the other things as well. I've got the list brought up of a few things that I wanted to cover. So let's go ahead and just load up a world here. I actually have a world loaded up. And what I noticed right off the bat, because this is an amplified world type, which, this is, a more demanding world type, it just seems a lot smoother than usual. Now, I haven't played on amplified for a while, but what I remember the last time, and even with this computer, I'm using my my main computer, which is a little bit beefier. I even noticed last time that when I was playing on amplified, it really wasn't, that smooth. It stuttered quite a bit. It was a little bit choppy. And with this update, of quite a while later, it just seems quite a bit smoother. And even while recording, I'll bring it up here, I'm getting, just under 60 frames per second, sometimes higher. Just it fluctuates quite a bit still, but it's really smooth. And the amplified world type, as you can see, is very complex. So this is pretty cool to see that. It seems to be running smoother. Maybe there's no difference. Maybe I just am remembering wrong or something. I don't know, but it just seems to be running quite a bit smoother. So anyways, let's start getting into the combat update itself. So let's go to the combat menu and just show off some of the new things here. So first off, of course, you have your sword. So I'm going to get a sword out. I'm going to get a bow out. And right off the bat, you can see there's all kinds of new arrows. So I'm going to be getting those... I'm going to be getting to those just here in a second, but first off, I want to show off the new shield and how you can have, you can dual wield with the shield. So you can have in your right arm, you can have the sword, and then your left arm you can have, or hand I should say, you can have the shield. So let's go ahead and get the shield out and get some armor out as well, just for the heck of it. And to actually, equip the shield, you have to go over to your survival inventory, and where you would usually put your survival, or where you'd usually put your armor, where you still put your armor, you can also have a shield put in. So let's put the shield on there like that, and then let's just put our armor in. Let's just do it the quick way. All right, there we go. So now we have our shield equipped. You can see it in the background there. It has been put on. But I do want to point out that you can crash your game. At least I've found it, where if you try to hold a shield, have two shields held at the same time, it does seem to crash the game, which is kind of disappointing considering how long they've been working on this update. And that's something that's kind of simple, honestly. But basically what happened was I tried to equip it just to see what would happen, crashed the game, reloaded the game, and it was actually equipped, so I had two shields at once, switched to the sword, tried to switch back, and then it crashed again. So that's just what I've noticed with that. Maybe it's just me, I don't know. But I'm just going to avoid that, because if I do... if I do that, then I will screw up my recording and I have to start over. And I've already had to do that because my other computer just completely crapped out. So let's go ahead and get a zombie or something out here and show off this shield. So I'm actually gonna just switch over to man, I can't type, survival. I still spelled it wrong. I got my microphone in front of me, so it makes it tougher, but still. Game mode, there we go. Now we're in survival. Put a zombie over here and then just back up. Oh my goodness. Okay, so you can see we have these at the same time. So if you right click, I just put a zombie out in the middle of the day. Whoops. There we go. He's dead, though. Although I did this earlier, actually, I forgot again. But I tried to use a shield on him, and he still caught me on fire. So I'm just going to walk away. Just walk away from the problem, I guess. And have to get a new spawn egg, because I only gave myself one, because I'm stupid. So let's go back to creative. Get a zombie. Whoop. Man, I cannot type. Okay. Nope. Let's get 64, and go back to survival. Okay. Now I think I got this right. Hey, he didn't die. Well, let's spawn a bunch of them. Make it fun. So how this works is you have, you know, this here, and you right click, or you left click for the sword, and then you right click to put the shield out in front of you to defend yourself. So you can see I don't lose any damage. It does take, or the shield of course does take some damage, but you both go flying back, and then you can start to hit. And then you can block again, and it's really all about this is about is just getting the timing down. You know when to try to block what your other what your opponent is doing, and then just quickly get a hit in there, block, get a hit, back and forth, and it's just about getting the timing down, which is why this is a lot more involved now, because instead of just sitting here click 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 click, you can actually defend yourself, and then there's an actual skill to it now. And I still suck at it, of course, but people who really get into this stuff, get into PvP, which like I said before, I don't. Maybe I will now, I don't know. But people who really get into this stuff can get very, very good with this, just defending and stuff, and that makes it a lot more interesting in my opinion. Where I don't think just sitting here clicking over and over again is all that interesting, and then backing up, of course, because I'm about to die. So let's just get away from that. Or that is gonna follow me, so let's just fly out of here. And there we go. Okay. Now let's go over some of these arrows that I brought up a second ago. So let's go ahead and put a few in my inventory. Let's put that one, and that one, that one. So basically what it's going to do with these separate arrows is the ones that are closest to the bow in the hotbar down there are going to be the ones that get shot. So right away that green one's going to get shot, and then the gold one, and then the ugly one, and then another ugly one. Wow, those didn't fly anywhere, although I shot them pretty quick. And then if you don't have any, it's just going to be a regular old bow. Or not bow, regular old arrow. Although these seem to fly like crap. Maybe it's because I'm up so high. Let's go down here. There we go. Must be just from being up there, I guess. Yeah, there's a skeleton. Now, one problem I did notice, and you probably already picked up on this, is that I cannot use my shield while I have the bow out. So the bow has the same old controls, so if you just left click, it'll hit somebody, which I don't know what's going on in the corner down there. That little thing that pops up. And then, of course, you right click to shoot. So that means you can't pull out your shield while you're in like a bow battle or a bow and arrow battle or something like that, where you'd probably want to pull out your shield to defend yourself from an incoming arrow. So I don't know what the whole logic behind that is, honestly, because that's a pretty important thing to be able to use your shield in a situation like that. Now maybe you can like turn and get it in front of you. I don't know. But it seems to me like what they should do is make it so you left click and then you shoot, because this is honestly the most worthless move ever. If in real life you go up to somebody and you threaten them with just hitting them with like this wood bow, they're gonna make fun of you because that's not gonna do anything. So it's kind of a stupid thing to have it like that. Now of course this isn't real life, but still it's just kind of funny. So I think what they should do is just make that shooting, right click, and then just get rid of this hit here so that you can have your shield and your bow at the same time. Now there is this new interesting mob that they added that I wanted to go over as well. So I'm going to go down here, and actually I'm going to go away from those. Actually, no, I'll just make it daytime. And this is actually a new thing too. You can do time set day and time set night. That's as a value instead of putting in numbers. So you can put in like 13,000 for, or instead of putting in 13,000 for night or 1,000 for a day, you can just type it in, which is something you've been able to do on multiplayer with like I have Spigot on to host my server, and you can do that anyways with that. But in single player, you couldn't do that before, supposedly. I actually can't think now. I saw that posted somewhere. Anyways, that's not what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about the new mob. So let's get it here. It is the shulker. So let's go ahead and spawn one, and I'll just show you what it does. So when you spawn it, initially it just looks like an ugly block, and then it pops up like that. And in creative mode, it's not going to do anything to you because you're in creative. It's not even if it tried, it wouldn't get anywhere. So let's go ahead and switch to survival, and I'll just show you what this thing does. It's pretty interesting. So all of a sudden it goes into absolute beast mode and starts to, like, it gives you levitation, so you go flying up in the air. It takes your damage away. You can block it. I think that's part of, you know, what this thing is supposed to do is, you know, make use of your shield. But if you forget, you get that. It lifts you up a little high in the air, and then it just drops you, and then you're dead. So that's what that does. I actually wanted to try to defeat it because earlier I tried to just hit it with a sword, and it took forever. I sat there just hit after hit after hit trying to kill this stupid thing. So my best guess, because I didn't get a chance to really try it that much because, like I said, my computer crapped out. So let's go ahead and try. I'm gonna get my shield, of course, and I think what you're supposed to do is use the bow and arrow to try to, like, shoot this thing from a distance. So I'm gonna go up in this tree here, switch to survival, which in survival mode you're generally not going to be up in a tree like this, but you could always place blocks and climb. So, like, when that thing pops up, try to shoot it. And I don't know what I just did to that thing, but it looks like I'm getting somewhere. I mean, I'm taking a lot of I'm using a lot of arrows. See, there we go. You know, with the sword earlier, it took forever to try and kill that stupid thing. What am I? Anyways. What? Okay, anyways. I was getting lifted up in the air for a second there. Anyways. Yes, so I lost my train of thought just because of what happened over there. So, back to the shulker. That's what it was. Going back to that, yeah, the sword took forever to kill that thing with. So, using the bow and arrow, it looks like what you're supposed to do, unless this arrow is, like, just super strong. Also, they added some new blocks in, so I'm gonna switch back to creative here and look at these new blocks. So what they are called is the purpur blocks, which never heard of purpur in my life, but usually they base these off of, you know, real items, real materials. So let's get them out of here. So first impressions with this thing, it's ugly. But, you know, once you place it and look at it, you know, it's still ugly, but you can see there's a place for it. You know, it's not something you'd, you know, use everywhere, but there's a place for it, and it actually looks relatively fancy, but it's just not my color. You know, I think that's a pretty ugly color. It's like a pinkish color. So, actually, I shouldn't say pinkish. It is pink. So, yeah, you know, the color is not really my thing, but after I looked at it for a while, you know, trying to look at it optimistically, I'm like, you know, okay, I see there's a purpose for it. It could look nice in some, you know, fancier buildings and stuff, but, you know, at first glance, I was just like, man, this is ugly. But not a big deal, of course, because, you know, new blocks and items and stuff are always welcome. And, you know, I don't want to turn that kind of stuff down, but I always like to give my opinions on it. Even if it's just kind of like oh, that's ugly. So, anyways, let's look at this. Oh, this is a cool one. Actually, two cool ones. They're getting two things from Pocket Edition. Oops. So first off is the dirt path. So for you guys who play Pocket Edition, you probably remember a while back, Pocket Edition got the dirt path thing. So you take a shovel and do that, and you can make a dirt path. Now, I haven't played PC in a while, other than on my server, but even then I don't do a whole lot of building and stuff like that. I just kind of talk to people, really. So I saw this, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting that PC hadn't gotten this yet. And I think maybe the console version had it. I forget, you know, which ones had it, but as far as I know, Pocket Edition may be the only one. But I do know for sure that Pocket Edition had this. It has this dirt path thing, so it has been moved over to PC, as well as beetroots and beetroot soup. So a couple of Pocket Edition exclusives moving over to PC, which generally it's the other way around. You know, you get like PC features going to Pocket Edition because Pocket Edition is a little bit farther behind, quite a bit farther behind. So it's kind of funny to see for once that Pocket Edition stuff is going over to PC. You know, you don't really see that very often. So kind of cool. They also added stuff like igloos as well, which is kind of funny. armor protection values have been lowered actually, and I think the reason for that is you have the shield now, which is going to help you in battles. So that'll if you have armor on, if you had the old armor on with the old damage values plus a shield, you're not gonna die. Okay, you're gonna go for a really long time. So if you really want to do that, you could get like a mod or something, and you make it fair, of course. Have other people that have that mod as well to increase your health. But honestly, that would go on a little bit too long if the old armor values were the same as before, the damage values. So they also expanded the end, added the elytra. I almost said that weird. And another big one, the last one I'm probably going to be going over is the new sounds. So I don't know if the sounds are actually working in this video. They were working early when I was recording on my other computer that crapped out that I keep bringing up. But I don't know if they're recording on this one because I tried it a couple times and there was sound there, and then all of a sudden there wasn't. So I don't know. I don't know if it's actually recording the sounds or not. But like when you're using the sword, which I don't know why I don't have out. There we go. It adds a new sound, so hopefully you guys can hear that. I don't know, but it's weird. It seems like the sword swings lower, but still, it does add a new sound. And also, the sword doesn't have, because this is something the shield does, but you can't actually defend yourself with the sword anymore. If you remember, you could right-click, and then it would put the sword out in front of you, for defense. It wasn't that great. It didn't do a good job because, it's a sword sitting in front of you. It's not going to do much regardless of what you try. But they did actually remove that, but they also did change the sounds, and there are several other sound effects that they did add to the game. So pretty cool stuff there. That's, it's a great update, but, they really did focus a lot on, the combat stuff, especially because, like I brought up before, combat in Minecraft definitely needed to be improved. So it's going to be interesting to see if the developers talk about this kind of stuff coming into other versions of Minecraft, like Pocket Edition and the Xbox and PlayStation versions and stuff like that. I really hope it does come to Pocket Edition, although with Pocket Edition it would be a little bit tougher trying to get those controls in, trying to put the shield out in front of you while you're fighting and stuff. That could be a little bit more difficult with Pocket Edition, but something like Windows 10 Edition could definitely benefit from this kind of an update, where Pocket Edition, like I said, I think they could get it down, but I don't have, this kind of just came to mind right now, so I don't have a whole plan about how the controls would work. But it'll be interesting just to see what the developers do. Hopefully this does come to other updates, or not other updates, but other versions. But I did notice, I brought up the crashing earlier, but there have been a couple bugs I ran into with this version, which is kind of disappointing considering how long this has been in development and testing and stuff. So, hopefully get those weeded out in something like 1.9.1 or whatever. So, I will keep you guys updated on this one because this update is actually really interesting. And even though I haven't done a whole lot of Minecraft PC videos in quite some time, this is a video or a version that is really appealing to me because I did improve the combat. That's the biggest thing for me, and I've always kind of been not against, but just not a big fan of PvP in Minecraft. So I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. I want to know what you guys think of this update. Do you like how they redefined the PvP in Minecraft entirely? I know there are some people who complained about it, but again, personally, I do of course like this update. So I want to know what you guys think. Leave your comments down below. It'll be really interesting to see what you guys have to say and just share your thoughts. And I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.